Record keeping and identification qualified personal records with relevant data of the Data Joint Operation Certification Oversight Report. Engineer Certification Reference Guide with the Federal Railroad Administration revised August 2000. Record keeping identification qualified person record with relevant data joint operation certification railroad oversight with the record improvement on looking identification qualified personnel record with relevant data different joint operation certificate railroad oversight report. Main identification qualified personnel maintain written record with identified with the designated super local of the engineer with the maintain with the written record identified each with the certified engineer that indicated classes for the data certification identification qualified personnel with the railroad shall maintain a written record identifying each person designated with the designated supervisor local of the engineer. The railroad shall maintain a written record identifying each of the persons designated certified local of the engineer with the list certified with the engineers indicated with the class for the railroad determines each person qualified to perform the date of the railroad certificate decision. Identification qualified personnel joint operation control of the railroad listing shall include the information joint territory engineers control of railroad must determine on how these engineers meet the qualification requirements certified knowledge operation skill physical characteristics. If the railroad responsible for controlling joint operation for the listing shall include the person of the certified in accordance with the 240 229 requirements of the joint operation territory and state with the parties with the controlling railroad rely with the certification issued by the number of the railroad the controlling railroad shall determine one of the person has been certified with a qualified engineer under the Part 240 railroad with employee with the individual of the railroad. The person certified with the locomotive engineer by the other railroad has demonstrated the necessary knowledge concerning the controlling railroad operating rule of the rules different. 3. The person certified with the locomotive engineer by other the railroad with the necessary operating skill for the journey with the joint operation territory. 4. The person certified with the locomotive engineer by other the railroad has necessary familiarity with the physical character of the joint operation territory. Identification qualified person joint operation simple exchange for the engineer roster does not comply with the OPS 9736 for the issue of May 9th, 16th, 1997 the date of the railroad sense of the inception with the regulation with the concern with the act of the exchange can live for the certified locomotive. Engineers to comply with requirements under most circumstances with the task is accomplished merely with providing a senior roster of certified engineer controlling with the railroad controlling. Railroad must determine how these locomotive engineers' qualification requirements of regulation with a simple exchange with the engineer roster if it does not comply with the requirement of 240 229. For example, the Amtrak provided with a list of the certified engineer with the BNSF. BNSF is obligated to determine the Amtrak with the engineer with qualified to operate with the BNSF traffic. BNSF the operating rules under the General Code of Regulation with the understanding with all certified engineer with the Amtrak listing qualified to do the General Code of Regulation for the Amtrak operates with the NORAC operating rule of the operation Ops 9736 with the FRA policy of the regulations on the procedure for the make of the determination of the according associated record according requirements for the record keeping the requirements of the railroad required for the demonstration of the FRA had the determination reached for the FRA concerned with the exchange of the roster permissible to making the determination required in 242 29C. One with the person is continued. Simple exchange with the officers, the qualified engineer within the regulation, however, from this point of the exchange with the roster does not say if the railroad obligates to determine the engineer with the necessary knowledge, operating skill, ability, physical character of the joint operation territory. Consequently, the FRA is advising related committee the compliance inspection expected railroad sometime with the system providing with the FRA with the determination made. Have the list of qualified personnel with the title of 240 221C with the trail include with the persons who operate with the joint territory with qualification determined the requirement of 240 229C. Maybe to combine identification qualified person combined with one listing with a designated supervisor locomotive engineer, joint operation engineer with the noted updated annually, keeping the division regional headquarters advisable the inspection copy may get approval of the maintained electronic air general office. The listing with a designated supervisor locomotive engineer certified engineer include joint operation requirement the 240 221 shall be operated at least annually. No railroad must have only one list of certified engineers, along with as long as the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer, joint operation engineers are identified. Some of the man of the record required in 240, 221 shall be kept at the divisional regional headquarters of the railroad. Should be available for the inspection company of the FRA during regular business hours. Railroad may obtain with the FRA, maintain with the record, electronic, maintain with the record, regional railroad's general office. Both required for the approval shall be filed with the associated administrator, say that it contains sufficient information to explain with the FRA will be given the access to have the full equivalent created with the compliance with 240 221E, keeping it with the specified location available at the inspection copy of the FRA during the regular business hours. Note while the information identification qualified personnel is inducted the record, keeping the reference manual should be noted with no reference to the listing with the 240 215. Therefore, there is no requirement of listing to be maintained for 6 years. Record relevant data each of the engineer applicant with the prior safety contact alcohol drug year 5 years operating rules 3 former railroad data. Record letters, notes, motor vehicle data, actual records, EAP documents, applicant data, records. or retaining information supporting determination of railroad that issue the denied revoked certificates after making the determination required in 24203 shall maintain record for each of the certified applicant with the containing of the information railroad relied on. Making a determination of the information concerning the eligibility of the railroad should include the retained includes relevant data of the railroad's records concerning with the person's prior safety contact with the documents printed with the determination alcohol drug arrear 5 years operating rule of compliance of railroad employed with the current former railroad is an operator motor vehicle 3 years, including any pertinent written documents the EPA counselor pertaining with the 240-205 with the required of the written document EPA counselor for the reflective of the professional opinion of the person have been evaluated not conversely effective if the person has active substance abuse of the disorder and ineligible for certification. Relevant data furnished with another record, actual record letters furnished railroad knows of the pertinent conversation with the other railroad. Relevant data furnished for the governmental agency concerned with the person's motor vehicle, the driving the record, actual documents of the state, national driver the records, registry records, and for any data furnished for the case of the person seeking certification, actual for records furnished concerning the eligibility information concerning vision, hearing, acuity, the railroad shall retain include relevant test result concerning vision, acuity, the minimum, the medical examiner certificate, identifying with the medical examine the medical, meet the standard written documentation, medical examine the documentation provisional of the optional opinion of the person does not meet the actual acuity standard of the stating of the basis of the decision whether the person can or cannot be certified under certain conditions. 2. If it applicable, the relevant data concerning the professional opinion of the railroad medical examiner adequacy of the person's acuity. Railroad record data. Each engineer applicant knowledgeable data success and failure copy sample test. For information concerning the demonstrated knowledge of the railroad shall include the relevant data of the railroad records concerning the person's success and failure with the patch for the knowledge of the test. And 2. The sample of the written knowledge test and the test administered. 2. Of the content of the test should be documented, and the documentation shall be sufficient information to identify the relevant factors reliable development purpose sample of the copy of the written knowledge of sufficient to identify the relevant factors relied on the evaluation purposes. Preamble of the interim final rule of the Rule 1899-8 with the minimum record keeping the competent joint operation would be able to show that the person given the term for the written test for the type of the A with a given date, achieving the passing score of the X% with the most railroads maintain a test answer sheet which includes this information. Performance skills, success, failure, observation, operating facts, and observation of the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer. The information contained with the demonstrated performance skill of the railroad shall retain includes the relevant data of the railroad records concerning with the person's success failure with the performance skill test of the document relevant to the operation fact for the evaluation based on including the observation evaluation of the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer. Railroad relies you for the locomotive operation similarly with the performance skill of the testing required for the Part 240 with the relevant data of the railroad record concerning with the person's successful failure with the performance skill of the test for the documents relevant to the operating fact for the determination was based on including observation evaluation of the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer. Know that per 241.27 the deck with the test should be documented with the written of the designated supervisor or locomotive engineer documentation contained with the relevant concern with the train being operated with the constraint with the applicable the operation factor observed that relied on evaluation purposes of the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer. Alright, annual efficiency test, date, time, and the type of the test, pass or fail of the annual check ride, checklist of the ride with the similar observation documentation for the event with the record data, relevant data of the record of the term of the person's success failure with the test of the railroad performed with the monitor of the engineer's operating performance according with the 240-129 annual check ride efficiency test. With the annual check ride, we expect the railroad to maintain some kind of checklist of the other former on the board, similar observations, some of the documentation evaluation of the event recorder data notation just passed or failed with not adequate relevant data, or relevant data maintenance of the efficiency testing record that would be in the minimum of the documentation showing the date and the time of the type of the test for the identified signal test for the test requiring less than favorable conditions pass or fail. Record relevant data each engineer applicant with the training program with the data furnished training with each and with the knowledge of the performance skill of the data showing the completion of the knowledge skill physical characteristics passing grade. If the railroad is relying on successful completion of the approved training program conducted by another entity with the railroad relying on the railroad shall maintain a record of the certified entry for the containment of the relevant data furnished for the training entity with the concern of the person to demonstrate the knowledge performance skill that relied on both of the railroad making its determinations. Alright, although 240-215 was specifically addressed for the training record, the 240-213 require the determining whether the initial issue with the certificate of the railroad shall have the written document showing that the person completed with the training program complied with the 240-123 with the demonstrated the knowledge skill by achieving the passing of the grade under the testing evaluation received with the training of the program, the person familiar with the physical characteristics of the railroad with the patent segments. Record relevant data for the each certified engineer relying on the decision of the railroad relying record shall maintain records for the each engineer record maintain 6 years availability FRA during normal business hours. If the railroad relying on the certification decision is made with another railroad relying on the railroad shall maintain a record of each of the certified engineers the name of the relevant data furnished whether the railroad relied on the making the determination all records required under 240-215 should be retained for the period of 6 years for the date of certification recertification. Now revocation decision should be made available to the FRA representative upon requesting during normal business hours. No records of the delegation qualified person of the railroad oversight of the right are not mentioned in the 240-215 and therefore are not required to maintain for the 6 years certification of the record. Railroad may elect to retain the FRA required with the record central location system headquarters policy. Statement covers the manually electronically generated records required by the 240. All records maintained should be available for inspection copied during the railroad normal business hours. Added centralized record keeping location Ops 9735. Data for joint operation certification, controlling the railroad elects to do its own testing and then be responsible for the particular for the testing. Controlling railroad elects to rely on the visiting railroad, the host railroad, with the responsible for documenting reliance for the agreement of the visiting railroad to perform tests and maintain records. In the pre of the interim final rule 1899-8 with the FRA level, the detail required for the information must reside with the railroad file with the railroad authorized person of the railroad to operate the joint operation trackage which of the operational responsible for the level of the data depending on the method of the select with the railroad making the decision of the visiting engineer qualified to operate with the joint operation trackage. The rules 2 option of the controlling railroad conduct necessary 2 for the control or live visiting railroad to conduct tests on its own behalf. The controlling railroad elects to do its own with the testing with a reasonable with being able to identify with a particular test. For example, the controlling railroad were able to large railroad with the standardized type of information to be able to show the person given the name of the written type test A only given the data achieved with the passing score X%. With the controlling railroad elects for revisiting the railroad then host railroad with the responsible for the documentation that is relied with the agreement of the visiting railroad whereby the visiting railroad authorized control of the railroad to perform testing on the behalf of the controlling of the railroad and maintain an appropriate record with concerning that test. Railroads typically will employ both approaches. In some instances, the middle ground with the select for the controlling railroad allow for the visitor the sitting judgment of the employee when selected members of the visiting railroad staff administered on the testing. These approaches test private the sanctioned operation on the joint territory of the engineer working on the visiting railroad predate with the existing FRA rule. The significant difference between the FRA rule of the arrangement, but such a petition must be known. Hereto, the documented because the controlling railroad will bear ultimate responsibility under this rule of all the engineers authorized to operate on its lines. Controlling railroad can anticipate that under appropriate circumstances the FRA will be prepared to hold the controlling railroad responsibility for the enforcement purpose of the despite of being confronted with the argument that the railroad was culprit with the controlling railroad which will be exonerated because it is totally depending on the visiting railroad to prevent an unqualified engineer from operating on the controlling railroad lines. Falsification and unlawful the railroad knowing individually willfully to make calls has been made and participate in making a false entry of the required records or otherwise falsely such records via the material misstatement, omission, and mutilation. It should be unlawful to any railroad or knowingly to any individual willfully make call is made and participate in making false entry on the records required by the section, otherwise falsify such records through material misstatement, omission, and mutilation. Maintain records in electronic format, limited control of the action for the record data storage of the permits visual of the acceptable retrievable usable format upon request of the FRA. Retrieve the information can easily produce the permitted formally readily provided with the FRA. The authenticated designated representative true accurate upon the request of the FRA. Nothing within 240-215 preclude the relation for the maintaining of the information required with the pertain under 240-215 of electronic format, provided that the railroad adequately limited the control of those who the acceptance of the information. The FRA intend with the entail of the script describing the we can create, modify, with the delete data with the database, but although it does not recover the existence of the capacity of identify with the authorized source made with the chain with the database for the accountable person, such the capacity with the desired. FRA is intent with the person who performed the authentication of the railroad itself to be assured of the FRA that the data has not been tampered with the railroad employed with the system of the data storage of the permits reasonable except for the retrieval of the information in the usable format with the requested furnished data of the FRA representative and information. 3. Information received with the system could be easily produced in the printed format but could be readily provided with the FRA representative with the authenticated designated representative of the railroad as true accurate copy of the railroad record. If requested to do so by the FRA representative, note the change will result of the AR's position for the reconsideration granted and modify them in the rule. Our railroad oversight responsibility class 1 and 2, March 31st, shall conduct formal annual review and analysis of the respond to the poor safety conduct trends include number and nature, including remedial action, number and nature of the reported accident, number and type of the annual monitoring failures, number and joint operation engineer failures, no later than March 31st each year for the beginning of each calendar year for the 1993, each Class 1 railroad, including the abstract of the railroad, provided with the community for the Class 2 of the railroad, conducting the formal annual of the review and analysis of the concern with the administrative its program for responding to detected insurance instances poorly safely conducted by certified local engineers during the periodic calendar year. Each review of the analysis shall involve the number, the nature of the incident of the detected poor safety conducting, including the nature of the remedial action taken in response thereto, the number, the nature of the FRA reported train accident attributed with the poor safety performance of local engineers, number, the type of the operational monitoring testing failure with the observation and inadequate skill of the performance recorded with the designated supervisor, locomotive engineer of the conduct of the joint operation of the railroad, numbers of the locomotive engineers employed with the other railroad at which such events described with the controlling railroad certified over the joint operation purposes. Alright, determining whether the action will take for the proof of the safety to produce the failure incident of the nature should provide a report of the findings conclusion of the FRA upon written request. Based on the review of the analysis, each of the railroads shall determine what action will take to improve the safety of the train with the operation reduce to eliminate future incident of the nature of the request of the written by the FRA will shall provide with a report of the finding of the conclusion reached for the during such annual review with the analyst effort. Note the report is normally available for the review of the FRA of the railroad locations. Certifications are maintained. Our Railroad Oversight Incident Part 218, 19, 232 through 38, train speed signal indication, restricted speeds. For reporting purposes and information about the nature of the detected, the poor safety shall be capable of segregation for the safety evaluation purposes and following categories of incidents involved with the non-compliance for the Part 218, incident involved with the non-compliance, Part 219, incident involved with the non-compliance procedure for the safety, use of the train engine brake with the procedure for the required for the compliance with the initial terminal, intermediate terminal, with the transfer train with the R-Trans provisions of Part 232 with the wind with the procedure required with the compliance with Class 1, 1A, and Class 2 with the running brake test provision, Part 238, incident involved with the non-compliance with the railroad operating rule involved with the operation of the locomotive with the train and operator with the speed with the exceed with the maximum authorized limited incident involved with the non-compliant with the railroad operating rule with the result of the operation of the locomotive with the train past any signal, suiting hand or radio signal indication of the switch that required for the complete stop before passing it includes incidents involved with the non-compliant with the provision restrict with the speed of the operational equivalent thereof that must be reported with under provisions Part 225. 7 incidents involved in the occupying main track segments of the main track without proper authority and permission, including involved with the failure to comply with the prohibition against for the tampering of the locomotive monitoring safety device with knowingly operating permitting with it be operated with the train as unauthorized disabled safety device and with the controlling locomotive, including involved with the non-compliant with the railroad operating project, including the train handling procedure resolved with excess of the train force levels and for reporting such of each category to take the poor safety conduct identified in 240 for the 309 should be capable of being anointed to the reflect with the following the nature of the remedial action taken with the number of events subdivided with the reflect the following action was selected imposition formal discipline provision informal training provision formal training and 2 the nature of the remedial action was the formal discipline the number of events sub the further to reflect which of the following punishments was imposed by the hearing officer. 1. The person withheld from the service. 2. The person dismissed from employment. 3. The person was issued demerits. If one more, the punishment was imposed on that punishment with the deemed that serve will be shown. For reporting pieces of peer purposes, each category take the poor safety conduct identified in the 24309E resolved with the imposition of formal and informal discipline. Speeding noted to reflect the following the number of incidents of the railroad internal appeal of the process for due for the punishment initially imposed with the conclusion with the hearing with the number of the incidents of the punishment imposed by railroad was reduced to any of the following at even National Railroad Adjustment Board, a public law board, a special board of adjustment, other body with a resolution disposed duly constituted under the provisions of Railway Labor Act. For reporting purposes of each category, detected poor safety conduct with identified in 24309A, but should be noted if they reflect the following: the total number of incidents in the category, the total number of incidents with the total reflects incident requiring accident reports. 3. Number of incidents with the total were detected as a result of the scheduled operational monitoring and effort. And then it goes into 240 Title 49 Code Regulations, CFR, centralization records, operation practices. And it gives some of the questions. Railroad program submissions.